Hi, my dear friend. I'm so glad you are here because today's topic is one that completely shifted the way I see relationships. How often do you notice that someone is supposedly listening to you, but not really? Or maybe like me, you've caught yourself rushing to respond instead of truly hearing the other person. I've been there too. And it took me years to understand that the real power of communication isn't about speaking beautifully. It's about listening deeply. Today, I want to share what I've learned about how to listen in a way that makes people feel important, understood, and connected. At the end, I will reveal a practice that transformed how I communicate with my loved ones forever. Let's start with a question. Why is it so important to know how to listen? Imagine you are sharing something deeply personal with a friend and they interrupt or glance at their phone. How does it make you feel? For me, it used to leave me feeling dismissed, like my words didn't matter. And that hurts. Listening goes beyond just hearing words. It's about trust. When we listen, we're saying, you matter to me. I want to be here with you. And here's the fascinating part. In those moments, not only does the other person feel valued, but we begin to understand ourselves and the world more clearly too. I remember one time during a walk with my son, he tried to tell me about something that happened at school. I was half listening, distracted by my phone. Suddenly he stopped mid-sentence and said, "Never mind, you are not really paying attention." That moment broke my heart. It made me realize how often I had let distractions get in the way of connection. Still, why is it so hard to really listen? I used to think I was a good listener until I caught myself preparing my response instead of truly focusing on the other person. It's humbling to realize how often we let these habits creep in. Let's explore why this happens. I want to tell you about active listening because it's something that saved some of my most important relationships. I'll never forget a moment when I was talking to someone I care about deeply, pouring my heart out, only to realize they weren't hearing a word I said. They nodded, but their gaze was far away. And in that moment, I thought, how many times have I done the same? Active listening isn't about sitting quietly while someone speaks. It's about attention, eye contact, nodding, asking questions that say, I am here with you. I think of it like a dance where you feel the rhythm and your partner at the same time. Once, during a heated disagreement with a colleague, I decided to stop defending my point and just listen. I asked, "Can you tell me more about why this matters to you?" The entire demeanor changed. They softened, and for the first time, I felt like we truly understood each other. It wasn't easy, but it was a turning point. I remember trying this with a close friend once. Instead of preparing my next words, I let go of my thoughts and just focused on being with them. What surprised me was how they opened up in a way they hadn't before. It was a reminder that listening deeply can change the energy of a conversation. But why do we stop ourselves from doing this? What gets in the way? I know how hard it is. Even when you're trying to listen, your mind can wander. One of my biggest barriers was always thinking ahead. What should I say next? Sometimes I wasn't even present enough to remember the last thing that the other person had said. Then there is judgment. Someone would start sharing a problem and I'd immediately have a solution ready. I'll never forget when a friend once stopped mid-sentence and said, "You're not letting me finish." It stung, but they were right. It made me realize how often I had been more focused on fixing things than truly understanding. I also remember a dinner with my parents where we were discussing family traditions. My father was trying to explain why a certain tradition was so important to him, but I kept interrupting with counterpoints. Finally, he said, "Can I just finish?" It hit me how often I'd been too busy proving my perspective to really hear his. And of course, there are the distractions, phones, notifications, and the constant buzz of life. Learning to put all that aside and just be present isn't easy, but it's worth it. Let me share what's helped me most. Here are a few simple tools I use to practice active listening. First, I ask open-ended questions. Instead of jumping in with advice, I'll say, "Can you tell me more about that?" Or, "How did that make you feel?" These small shifts have led to some of the most meaningful conversations in my life. Second, I reflect back what I've heard. Something as simple as saying, "So what I hear you saying is," shows you are really paying attention. It avoids misunderstandings and deepens connection. Nonverbal signals are powerful too. A warm smile, eye contact, or a slight nod can make someone feel truly seen. I didn't realize how much these little gestures mattered until I started using them more intentionally. Conversations with my family, especially my kids, became so much warmer. And here's a big one. Don't rush to give advice. This was a hard habit for me to break. But I noticed that when I simply listened without jumping in to fix things, people felt more comfortable opening up. It's funny how much more connected you feel when you don't try to solve everything. By the way, if you are enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I share more tips and reflections here to help us navigate relationships and personal growth together. When we listen, something bigger happens. It's not just about the words exchanged. It's about the connection created. Think of a time when someone really listened to you. For me, it feels like warmth, like being held in a space of understanding. This doesn't just apply to personal relationships. I saw it in action at work during a meeting. Instead of jumping in, I stayed quiet and let others share. The trust that grew in that room was palpable, and it reminded me how transformative listening can be in any setting. And here's what surprised me most. When we start listening deeply to others, we begin to hear ourselves more clearly too. That's a gift I never expected. Now, let me share the practice that transformed my relationships. Listening isn't just about others. It's about creating space for understanding both theirs and ours. Next time someone talks to you, try this. Put your phone away, make eye contact, and say, "I am here." Don't interrupt or plan what to say next. Just be there. For me, this journey took years, and I'm still learning. But every small step has been worth it. Try one of the tools we talked about today, whether it's asking a question, reflecting back, or simply being present. And let me know how it feels. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Thank you for staying with me until the end. For me, this isn't just a video. It's a conversation I wish I'd had earlier in my life. Remember, every moment of listening is an opportunity to connect, to understand, and to grow. I can't wait to see you in the next video.